Live now. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to another session of leadership. And today we'll be speaking on leadership and risk management. Leadership and risk management. I have with me Dr. Emmanuel Mo Apollo. You're welcome, sir. Can you please introduce yourself? Yes.
Okay. My name's like you mentioned, Dr. Emmanuel Mo Abolo. I am the Group Managing Director and CEO of the Risk Management Academy Limited. I'm also the Director General of the Economic Think Tank Center Limited. I am the President, Institute for Governance, Risk Management and Compliance Professionals. I'm also the President of the Professional Speaker Society of Nigeria. Well, my background is in economics. I read, economics, BSc, MSc, and PhD degrees in economics from the University of Lagos, and lectured briefly as an associate lecturer. And from there, I moved on to the banking industry. I started with the First Bank of Nigeria, PLC, as a senior manager back then in the mid-90s. I worked in First Bank for 12 years as their first chief economist and also group coordinator of the bank. And then, of course, I was also the first Basel II project manager at First Bank. Then I moved to Access Bank, where I was also the first chief economist of the bank. Of course, I was also running 5 other departments, market risk, operational risk, enterprise risk management, and of course, I was also the chief anti-fraud officer of the bank. Working there for about 3 years, and now left for the Nigerian Export-Import Bank, where I was the chief risk and also the chief compliance officer of the bank, and retired voluntarily in 2018 as an acting executive director, and also a GM and director in charge of the East and South regional operations of the bank. So today I'm a consultant and a trainer building capacity across many industries and across the globe. Thank you very much.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Wow, your CV is, quite interesting, sir. So how did you get into leadership?
Well, that's a very good question. Yes, that's a very good question. I would say that leadership was conferred on me by God. That's a very humble thing to say. Right from childhood, based on my knowledge and capacity, I just saw that people always follow me. They wanted me to provide direction. They wanted me to provide vision and so on. So right from being a child, I was also, I was already in that leadership position. I was already being prepared for, higher leadership levels. So that's how I got into leadership. But if you're talking about leadership at the corporate level, I would say that because of my knowledge and skill, my movement to leadership position was quite fast, very, very fast indeed. Wow. So I would say it was a dint of hard work, and because I was able to develop very speedily and quickly at the time, my emotional intelligence. So I had those interpersonal skills, and therefore people always like me, stakeholders and the board members always wanted, they gave me that opportunity to occupy leadership positions. So I would say it started right from childhood.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Awesome. I just want to celebrate you, sir. You are one of the few people that I, engage with, regularly, and your knowledge is, superb and very diverse. And I just want to welcome you once again. For those who are just joining us on this session, I'm here tonight with Dr. Emmanuel Mo Abolo. He's going to be talking to us tonight on leadership and risk management. Now, what are the similarities between leadership and risk management?
Yes, I think I would like to rephrase that question.
Okay.
Rather than talking about similarities, we want to talk about the relationship between leadership and risk management. I think that is what you have in mind. What's the relationship between leadership? Is there any relationship? Is there any correlation? If so, what is the nature of the relationship? I want to take it at two levels. We have leadership within the risk management function. Leadership within the risk management function itself. So we can take leadership, we can discuss leadership at that point, from that point of view. Then we can also talk about leadership, the corporate leadership itself, where risk management functions, So you have leadership at two levels. So if we take it at the level of risk management, you find that within the governance architecture of any organization, you have the board risk management committee, that provides oversight for risk management in any particular organization. But if you go down below that, then you have leadership. You often will have what is called the chief risk officer. The chief risk officer provides leadership at the executive management level. So you have leadership at that level, okay? You have leadership. In some organizations, of course, the managing director, provides some form of leadership. But because you want to ensure independence, of the risk management function from the executive management, then you can limit leadership to the chief risk officer's level. So if that's the question, we take that question from that perspective, we will say that there's a very strong relationship. If you have a very good leader, good risk management leadership at that level, then you have an effective and efficient risk management. So you have a positive relationship, a positive correlation. So when you have a good leader, a good risk management leader, then you will have an effective and efficient risk management, in that particular organization. So if we now go to the corporate level, leadership at the corporate level, who are the leaders at the corporate level? The leader, you have the board of directors. Of course, the shareholders are being represented by the board of directors. Basically, the board of directors, they have overall oversight. They have to provide oversight over risk management in every organization. That's the way it is structured. They provide oversight. And if anything goes wrong in that organization, the first set of people that you have to hold accountable are the board of directors. Now you can begin to trace the leadership from there. So you have the board of directors, then you have the board committees, the various board committees that provide leadership at those levels, and then you have the board risk management committee. So if I'm to respond to that question, I would say the relationship is very, very key. If you have a good board that provides overall oversight function, over the risk management architecture, and they believe and commit to risk management, then you will have a good risk management architecture in those organizations. But where those leaders, by virtue of their body language, or what you also call the tone at the top, if the tone at the top shows that they are not interested in risk management in that organization, then of course, risk management will be very, very ineffective in those organizations. So leadership is very key. It is called the tone at the top. If the tone is right, then you will have an effective risk management. But when the tone is wrong, if they are not walking the talk, if they are not talking the talk, then risk management will be in shambles in those organizations.
Wow. Awesome. Amazing. My mentor and my coach, John C. Maxwell, who I belong to his team, will say that everything rises and falls, on leadership. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Now, which takes me to the question, what is the responsibility of a leader in the area of risk management?
Yes, we can summarize the responsibility in that phrase that we said. That is the tone at the top. You see, the body language matters. The body language. So the first responsibility is for them to walk the talk. That is the first responsibility. The way they communicate, their body language, the kind of decisions they take, the people, the stakeholders, all the members of that organization, they must see that the board or the leaders, they commit to risk management. So their first responsibility is to send a signal out that we commit to risk management in this organization. That's a major, major responsibility. If that is wrong, if the language, the signal you are sending is wrong, then of course, risk management will not be effective in those organizations. The second responsibility is designing what is often referred to as the governance architecture, the governance, the structure.
Corporate governance, yeah.
Yes, the corporate governance architecture, the framework, the policies, because in every organization you have various types of risk in that organization. If we take banking, for instance, risk is not a monologue, it's heterogeneous. There's all kinds of risk, okay? So you have a credit risk, operational risk, strategic risk, market risk, reputational risk, legal risk, construction risk, or liquidity risk. The risks are so many. So for each of these buckets of risk, the leaders must ensure that policies are developed for each of these risk areas. It's a must. Now, as you are developing those policies, you would have come up with what you call in mathematics universal set. Universal set says that you must have an enterprise-wide framework. The enterprise-wide framework is the universal set. So from that universal set, you will find the various policies must flow from the enterprise risk management framework. So the organization is to make sure that one, you have the enterprise risk management framework developed, then you have the policies and processes and procedures developed for each of the risk areas of the organization. That is another, that is one responsibility. Then, of course, what are the deliverables? What are the deliverables from each of these risk areas? And also taking an integrated view of the enterprise, what you also refer to as enterprise risk management. What are the various deliverables? It is the responsibility of the leaders to ensure that these deliverables are delivered. So it is not just enough to have policies in place. Many people have policies. In government, for instance, they have a lot of plans here and there that are, gathering dust everywhere, spend billions and millions to develop these policies. So it is not about developing policies. It is about ensuring that these policies are implemented to the letter. That is a major responsibility. Then, of course, talking the talk. We have talked about walking the talk. What about talking the talk? That's one responsibility. In other words, at every point in time, at meetings, the leaders must be seen to be discussing risk management. They must be seen to be factoring risk and risk management into the decision-making process. And they must also ensure that all of the stakeholders, the employees, are allowed to interrogate and to engage and to discuss risk from different perspectives, okay? So they should be allowed. So the talking the talk means people should be allowed to discuss risk across the enterprise. And every decision that is being taken, the leadership wants to ensure that every person in that organization, they factor in risk into their decision-making process. So it will not be right, it will not be appropriate for the other employees of the organization to be saying, when it comes to risk, and say, we have a risk department, they are going to handle it. Let's leave them, let them handle it. No, that's not the kind of organization you want to run. You want risk to be part of the DNA of every staff in that organization, from the security to the gate man to the cleaner. everything you are doing, what are the risk implications. Once you're able to do that, then that is a very good leader in that organization.
Okay.
Then, of course, investing in technology. That's one responsibility. You cannot manage risk with your hands. The era of manual operations are gone. We're in a digital age. Even prior to this digital age, every successful organization, those who want to deploy the best architecture for risk management, they deploy the right technology. And there are technology solutions that will help you to manage risk end to end. Okay? And to make sure that all the risks are integrated together. You can't do that manually. So a leader must provide the right tools and technology for the management of risk in their respective organization. That is, of course, because this costs a lot of money. That is why the leader must come in. So if the leader does not believe in risk management, he will not want to spend a dime on technology. So one of their major responsibilities is having the technology to run the risk management, framework and architecture of those various companies. Another Amazing. Very important one.
Yeah.
Very important one.
Go ahead.
Yes. The COSO framework, the Committee of Sponsoring Organization of the Tradeway Commission, 2004. They defined enterprise risk management within the context of strategy. Within the context of strategy, within the context of appetite, deliberately. And of course, they tied it to the objectives of the organization, very deliberately. That is why I love that definition by the COSO. Now, the ISO 31000 ERM, ISO stands for International Organization for Standardization. International Organization for Standardization, ISO 31000. It says that risk is the effect of uncertainty on objectives. The effect of uncertainty on objective. That's the definition of risk, which is beautiful, beautiful definition. So what am I coming to? What I'm saying is that the leaders of every organization, any responsible leader or leadership, must ensure that the risk management architecture of the company is tied to the strategy of the organization. You cannot be having risk management going in one direction and your corporate strategy is going in a different direction. It cannot work. There must be proper alignment. Wow. And the only people that will ensure that alignment between the strategy of the organization and the risk management architecture of the organization are the leaders. So the risk management must be part and parcel of the strategic crafting of that organization. That is a major responsibility.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the other point is communication. The leadership of the organization must provide the framework and the structure for communication, risk communication across the enterprise. Well, the list is very long. I think these are the most critical responsibility of a leader in the area of risk management.
Amazing. I have one of my John Maxwell team members, that is following us all the way from Jos. His name is Olaiwole Odeyemi, and he's saying that risk management is the business of everyone in the organization. He's trying to re-echo what you have said. He also said the effect of uncertainty on the objectives of the organization. Now, I just want to escalate it now. When you look at the risk management profile of, the appetite for, the economy of Nigeria, how do you, what would you say concerning the risk management profile of a nation, like Nigeria?
So sorry, I'm not hearing you well again. I think the line is breaking.
Okay, can you come back in? Can you reconnect?
Is it from my end?
Yeah, I think it's for your end. Can you come back in?
Okay, just
yeah, please. You can come back in again. Yes. We have been speaking with Dr. Emmanuel Abolo, and we've been sharing on leadership and risk management. He's back in now. Okay. Yes. Can you hear me now? Hello, sir.
The network. I'm trying to change the network now.
Okay, fantastic. So we've been speaking on leadership and risk management, and he has been doing a great job.
Okay, I've changed the network. Go ahead. Let's see.
Okay, but you can hear me now? Yeah.
Hello?
Okay. Yeah, you can you hear me now?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
Hello?
Okay.
Oh my God. I've changed the network, so
okay, I can hear you, but I think you are not hearing me. Maybe you need to connect again.
I'm hearing you now.
Oh, you are hearing me. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic.
Yes.
All right, excellent. So we've been talking on leadership and risk management. I want you to now address, when we talk about leadership and risk, how do you situate that in terms of the economy of Nigeria?
Okay. If you're talking at the macro level,
yes,
what we refer to as macroeconomic risk. And so what is this macroeconomic risk? There are many. So if you look at the macro environment, there are certain macroeconomic fundamentals. You take GDP, the gross domestic product, is one area of activity which summarizes all of the things that are taking place in the country. That's the GDP. You look at the level of inflation. Okay, inflationary trends are all risk areas for businesses and for government, because if you want to assess the performance of a government, you look at these macroeconomic variables. But for businesses as well, these are sources of external risk to businesses. Okay, so you're talking about inflation, you talk about interest rate. Okay, then your GDP, look at the level of consumption, look at unemployment. Okay, you look at level of investments, savings.
Okay.
Then you can also talk about security situation, right? And then of course relationship with the external countries that are external to us. What happens in Chad, what happens in other countries also affect us, because we are running an open economy. So these are all macroeconomic issues. And if these fundamentals are not right, what will happen is that Nigeria will be losing. Will be losing in terms of financial resources, and also losing in terms of reputational damage, because reputation is even the greatest source of risk, both for individuals and also for organizations and a country. So the leaders of the country must work out a way to manage all of these sources of risk, in a very holistic manner. Okay, there must be careful and delicate balancing to ensure that all these risks are managed in such a way that they can propel, they can promote and galvanize, productive activities in the country. So if, for instance, you see bombs flying around within the country, you see kidnappings going around, of course, the implications are quite clear. Your GDP will go down, production will go down. And that's what has happened. That's what has led us to this recession. Because recession essentially is a decline in aggregate demand. In simple economics, aggregate demand at a point of equilibrium is equals to aggregate supply. Okay? And it's also equals to output. It's also equal to GDP. It's also equal to national income, right? So when there is a decline in aggregate demand, that is your G in the what is called the income equation. I don't want to go mathematical, but I'm saying that when there's a decline in aggregate demand, what the government can do is to introduce expansionary fiscal policy and expansionary monetary policy in order to drive aggregate demand. Expansionary. That means you need to increase government expenditure. But now, what kind of expenditure are we talking about? We're talking about productive capital spending, productive capital spending as against recurrent expenditure. Currently, we are not managing that delicate balance. We are spending more on recurrent expenditure. About 90% of your revenue is going to payment of salaries of public sector workers. That's a disaster for a country. So what we are saying is that the leadership of a country must sit down to make sure that whatever we are doing must be such that drives investment, drives savings, and also drives aggregate demand in the economy. That's
awesome. Okay, I want you to, you might have to take back to your other network, because this you are frozen. Can you come back in again with your link?
Okay.
Yeah. Wow, it's been an amazing time with Dr. Emmanuel Abolo. Yeah, you are back on again. You are back on again. But your link is, yeah, just we're going to be listening to Dr. Abolo. He should be coming back on again. His internet connectivity is having a bit of challenge, but we've been sharing on risk management and leadership, or leadership and risk management. And he was talking about the risk appetite of leadership, that if we have leaders that have a risk management strategy in place, they must also be willing to comply, with those policies. And that's the only way that, those companies can thrive. But if those companies have the risk management in place, but still don't embrace the strategies, it can be a challenge. You're welcome back, sir. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So you were talking about, the economy, our economy, the Nigerian economy in terms of risk. Yeah. Can you just continue from where you stopped? Yes, sir.
So I was saying that there are so many risks that are facing every country. It's not only Nigeria.
Okay.
But every risk is meant to be managed. Every risk is meant to be managed. But the way we are managing risk currently appear to me to be quite disaggregated. Okay. I use the word disaggregated very deliberately. My understanding and my perception is that monetary policy and fiscal policy, they need to be managed in an integrated form. There has to be a coordination between fiscal policy and monetary policy. Now, those are the two policies that, helps to manage, the risk, as it were, in quote, of an economy, in order to have sound macroeconomic fundamentals. Now, the situation you have whereby the fiscal policy is moving in one direction and the monetary policy is moving in a different direction, you are not going to get the very best. Everything has to be done within a general equilibrium framework. You will understand, you will appreciate the fact that under, was it Obasanjo, you had Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, who was not just the Minister of Finance, she was also the coordinating minister of the economy. So what is happening currently, there is no clear connection. The link between monetary policy and fiscal policy are not very strong. And I always like to advocate that we need a coordinating minister of the economy. The situation we find ourselves now. Secondly, I also would like to argue that the situation we find ourselves is no longer about political parties. We have gone past that level of saying this one is a PPC or this one is TTC and so on. The situation we find ourselves in this country, we need leadership to bring everybody to a rallying point, and they provide a vision, a direction that everybody must key into. Okay, if we are to take Nigeria out of this shallow grave that we have found ourselves, it's still a shallow grave, it's not deep yet. Okay, we need to come together. There must be a rallying point. Let's not emphasize, what you find now is someone decamping here or not decamping there and so on. This cannot take us anywhere. We need to come together at this point in time. Let's de-emphasize the issue of I don't know what kind of model this political party, APC, PCC, and TCC. It's not working. It's not working. We find ourselves in this mess now. It's not working. So I expect leadership, if we are to manage the risk we are facing now, which has now crystallized into high level of insecurity across the land. It's no longer an issue of northeast or northwest. It's across the land, to the extent that we are being told when to jog, and when not to jog. Signal that things are not well. Don't jog too early in the morning. Don't jog too late in the evening, and so on. So I believe that leadership must now come together to say, come, this is the vision in which all of us must be moving into. Let's key in. Once people now key in and make sure that you do not discriminate between one person, one thing and the other, and everybody moves in that same direction. That's what leadership is about. Leadership is about having your followers. If you are in front and you call yourself a leader and nobody is following you, then you are not a leader. But you need at least 80-70% of your people to be following you. That is the only way we can get the success that we need in this country.
Wow, amazing. Wow. If you're just joining us tonight, I've been speaking with Dr. Emmanuel Moore Abolo. He's an economist. He has a PhD in economics, and he's not just an economist, he's also somebody that is very vast in the area of risk management. I just want you to speak into the area. In what ways can a leader improve on risk management strategies? Even what are your suggestions, even for our nation, Nigeria, at this point in time, in terms of the risk management strategy for Nigeria?
Let's first take it at the corporate level.
Okay.
What can be done to improve risk management in respective institutions, no matter the type of organization? How can we improve? Well, from my experience and my perspective over the years, I've always found out that the most fundamental thing, the most fundamental for efficient and effective risk management is building the right risk culture. What is this risk culture? We can define the risk culture as the set of norms, the norms and traditions of behavior of individuals and groups of people within an organization. The norms, the traditions, in other words, the way things are done here. That is what you mean by culture, the way things are done here. And that risk culture should be the thing that determines the way in which we manage risk within that organization. So what am I talking about here? I am saying the starting point for an effective risk management is building the right risk culture. The risk culture simply means that in everything that we do, we factor risk into our decisions. So you find the gate man. If that is the culture, if it's a risk culture that works in an organization, the gate man knows that his job is key, that if he does not do his job well, armed robbers can enter into that company. So he doesn't take the job for granted. He's very serious because risk has been embedded into him. It becomes part of his DNA. So when you have every person within the organization, okay, always thinking and breathing, risk in all that they do, that is the right strategy for me. That's the right strategy. So it is not about having some set of people that you refer to as risk managers or risk officers. There are not many, even if there are many.
Wow. Sorry about the network interruption. I've been speaking with Dr. Emmanuel Moore Abolo. He's been speaking on leadership and risk management. I'm sure he'll be coming back in very shortly. He used to be the chief economist of First Bank and also the chief economist of Access Bank. You're welcome, sir. Sorry about the network interruption. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I think the interruption is still on. We might have to just wait for him to. But he's just been sharing a lot of nuggets tonight. And I'm so excited that is with us tonight, sharing a lot of nuggets on leadership and risk management. I believe strongly that risk is very important for us to, even as individuals, to assess the level of risk, that we, engage in, or either external or internal. Because if we don't, take risk into cognizance, you find that whatever you're doing, whether you are a business person, you're a leader, there's a level of risk that you're exposed to. So you must be able to, evaluate those risks. For example, he talked about the security guard in a company. If you have spent so much money, improving your assets, and the guard in the company is not cognizant of, is not aware, risk aware, it might expose the staff and even the people in that organization to a high level of risk by just being careless through the things that he says. Maybe he might just expose, divulge sensitive information. And even as a leader, it's not just for, he has told us tonight that it's not just for a leader to say, oh, have a risk strategy in place, but there must also be the willingness of the leader to implement those policies. If you have policies in place and they're in paper, but it's not actually been, on a day-to-day been, implemented, it can expose that organization, to a lot of challenges. And so risk is very important for a leader to be able to evaluate risk regularly. Even for us, it's come back on again now, and that's all part of leadership, You're welcome back. I can see that the network has been trying to throw you out.
It's unfortunate, infrastructural problems.
Yeah, yes. It's all part of the risk. Yes. Continue, please. Yes.
Yes. So I was talking about risk culture. That's a starting point. Okay. Every organization, I always recommend that the first thing is to build the right risk culture. We, as a risk management practitioner, I do know for sure that every process owner, every business owner, you have a responsibility for managing risk. So if you have the risk professionals in the head office, for instance, the chief risk officer, the head of credit, the head of operational risk, and so on, they are not more than 20 people. And you have your subsidiaries located all over the world. You have your branches everywhere. These 20 people cannot manage risk across the whole world. It's not possible. So what you need to do is to make sure everybody is a risk manager. And that is what you mean by the risk culture. So once everybody is conscious that they have primary responsibility for managing risk, that is the right strategy. The other thing which I mentioned before has to do with the body language. That is the tone at the top. The leadership of the organization must set the right tone. Okay, they must walk the talk. There must be accountability. There must be a means of incentivizing, provide incentives for people to want to comply with policies and make sure that there is effective risk management. And then, of course, you have to build risk into the performance management system of the organization, just to be sure that if you're not managing risk well in your own territory, within your own desk, and something goes wrong, of course, the performance management system will throw you out and you'll be appropriately sanctioned. So creating the right risk culture, setting the right tone from the top, and secondly, incentivizing and also creating, building risk into the performance management system of respective organizations. So if you take that to the level of the macro environment, of course, you have you have the president, you have ministers, you have heads of parastatals and all of that. Every of these institutions at every levels, they have their roles and responsibilities. So by the time you set targets and define scope of what each person must deliver and what you must not do, there must be a system that will throw up individuals who are not delivering on their mandate. Okay, and then of course you must have the political will, the political will to sanction,
to carry out.
the political will to sanction, the political will to make sure that people, deliver on their mandates. But when there is a lack of political will, then things go bad. Okay, things go bad. So that's my recommendation, that we must hold people accountable for what they are accounting for, as it were.
Wow. So it's not about just having those policies in place, Doctor. It's not about having policies in place.
In fact, there's what we call the 80-20 rule. 80-20 rule. 20 is the energy. The 20% is the energy you put to developing policies and plans. Nigeria is not short of plans. Anyway, we have Vision 2010, Vision 2015, Vision 2020. Now we are talking of Vision 2025. Nigeria has been projected to be among the top 20 economies by 2025, 5 years from now. But are we going to get there? We must do things differently. We must do things differently if we are actually going to be among the top 20 countries by 2025. So that's it. So I believe that the current leaders in the country, they have history beckoning on them. You need to write, you need to have your mark on the sand of time. You need to have your footprint on the sand of time. Things done. So you are given a chance now. You have that opportunity to be able to write your name in gold. So the choices that we make now will determine whether we want to get there by 2025. We have other people. Nigerians are very creative. Nigerians are very intelligent. Let's be very clear about that. Nigerians are intelligent people. They are very creative. If you want to measure the intelligence, go to UK, for instance. There's one guy who owns about 4 airports there, that country. The current, second minister for finance in America is a Nigerian. He's a Nigerian. Then you also, the guy who led the vaccine, who discovered the vaccine for this COVID-19, the team was led by a Nigerian in US. Go to Canada, they're occupying positions. In UK, go to the National Assembly. We don't lack people. What we need is leadership to provide the direction for everybody to follow. Nigerians are very intelligent people. Let's face it. Let's face it. Both from the north, from the south to the east to the west, we have the people. But we should be doing policies that will not be driving away our youths from this country. Many of our youths are just migrating to other countries. We shouldn't be doing things that will be driving away our children from the country. And then they go to other countries to be developing other countries. So why don't we create the framework, the enabling environment for our people to stay here and grow this economy?
Wow. Very, very, very engaging session with Dr. Emmanuel Moore Abolo. We've been speaking on leadership and risk management. I appreciate you and celebrate you for the thoughts that you have shared with us tonight. As we begin to get towards a close, I just want you to share 3 things in the area of risk that we need to do, even as a nation, right now. 3 things that we need to address in the area of risk. That would help our economy to, have some sort of stability, because right now there's quite a bit of uncertainty. What are the 3 things that we need to do in the area of risk to address?
Yes. In terms of priority, I think that security is number 1.
Okay.
Because in the absence of security, no nation will develop. We see what is happening in Libya. We see what is happening in Afghanistan. You see what is happening in Syria, and so on. No development can take place without security. So like I said, the issue of security has gone beyond political parties. It has gone beyond political parties. So I believe that the leadership of the country must not sit down, maybe with prior leaders come together and see how do we solve this problem. Now, I think part of the problem has to do with the high level of poverty in the country, high level of poverty. We, as I understand, we are the poverty capital of the world. So when you have high level of poverty, it fuels this kind of high level of insecurity. So we need to make institutions to work. We need to create the right infrastructure, because if you have infrastructure, for instance, like electricity, Nigerians are not lazy people. If you have the right infrastructure, electricity, just electricity alone, you will find that this insecurity will go down. It's because people are not engaged. And so since they are not engaged, they take into drugs, because the devil must find work for the idle mind. So because many of the youths are not engaged, you see people, they graduate from universities, 5 years, 7 years, no job. What do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? So there must be a programmatic approach to this issue. One, how do we provide employment for the people? Now, to provide employment, I say the first thing is infrastructure. Electricity, that's just enough. If you get electricity right, and everybody is able to, small and medium scale enterprises, people are not looking for big things. They just want to be engaged. And with electricity, millions and millions of Nigerians will be engaged. We cannot be using the tokenism approach, this tokenism of sharing 2,000, 3,000 naira. They say, give somebody, a hook to catch his own fish, rather than giving fish, because when he eats the fish, he will come back the next day. He will go hungry. So this tokenism of sharing 1 naira, 2 naira, it cannot solve the problem. We want to fix infrastructure, we want to fix electricity, so that Nigerians will be engaged. They're not asking for too much. They're not asking for too much. And once they are engaged, you see that the level of unemployment will go down, people will be engaged, and all these pockets of kidnapping and armed robbery and so on will be reduced. So that's my point, to deal with the issue of insecurity.
Okay, good, excellent. So now, in closing, who are your mentors? Because you are very wide in the area of knowledge and experience and exposure. Who are your mentors? Because I believe also that when a man speaks with so much depth as you are speaking, you must have mentors. There must have been some level of training that you must have been exposed to. Yes, sir.
Okay. The superlative words you have used to describe me will soon make me to start crying, and I don't want to cry. Okay. Now, let me say this. Yeah. Well, my first mentor is God himself.
Yeah.
It's God. There is something I'm sure there's something also in Quran, in the Bible, say, what do we have that God has not given to us? Nothing. There's nothing we have that God has not given to us. So I would say my first mentor, number one, is God. My second mentor is myself. My second mentor is myself. Okay. So I mentor myself.
Wow.
And that's why I try to build knowledge. I build capacity on my own. Okay. I don't have to, in a digital age, the knowledge is out there. It's just for you to grab it, to take it. Just take it free of charge. In our time in the universities, before you can get one hour, it will take you 2 weeks to get an article to read. Now you have millions, and by tapping education now, you will see millions of articles. So I would say my second mentor is myself. My third mentor will...
Wow, the network is playing up. Okay.
Is the former emir of Kano. Yes, the former emir of Kano. That is his Royal Highness Muhammadu Sanusi II. That man, I have a lot of deep respect for him. He trained me when I was at the university, when I was at First Bank. This man is an intellectual to the core and is respected globally. And I hope that somebody will find him and bring him to come and do something about this economy that we find ourselves. So he's my He is my third, but permit me to have a fourth mentor. That fourth mentor is Ike Imokwede.
Okay.
Ike Imokwede was the former group managing director of Access Bank PLC. He's a very intelligent man. He also trained me very well, and I owe a lot of respect both to himself and also the former Emir of Kano. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I've been speaking with Dr. Emmanuel Mo Abolo. He used to be a one-time chief economist for First Bank and also for Access Bank. And he has been sharing on leadership and risk management. We've benefited so much from you tonight, sir. And I just want to celebrate you. I want to salute you. I want to also believe that we'll be calling on you in the very not too distant future. I've had also the opportunity to share the platform with you on Channels TV when we're talking about rethinking the economy. That was in May 2019. And you are still as sharp as ever, still ready to add value.
Please, just give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. Adegoke Omotola is my very special friend. When I was in the university, his father, the former vice chancellor of the University of Lagos, is revered. People still talk about him to tomorrow. A man of integrity, Motola, a man of integrity. If you go to University of Lagos, even in Nigeria, globally, his father is well respected. He's a man of integrity. Okay, we trained there when he was vice chancellor of the university, and I'm saying that I'm very proud to be associated with his son, Adegoke Omotola. He's not just interviewing me, he's my very, very special friend. Take note of that.
Wow. Thank you so much. Wow. This is amazing. I'm highly humbled. You know, you have really shown your pedigree, and you have shown that you are also someone who is ready and willing to add value, not just from, the comfort of your home, but you are ready to just reach out. There are quite a number of people that will be watching this in the replay, and your thoughts, the knowledge that you have shared tonight will be used even in, framing organizations, framing nations, so I don't want you to think that you just appeared here by accident. This is just by grand design, and I want to celebrate you. You are not just a Nigerian, but you are an intellectual, an holder of a PhD in economics. Economics, not just in applying it, in the classroom, but also in the business world. Dr. Abolo, we appreciate you. And I want to believe that your thoughts, will be implemented even beyond the nation of Nigeria. We need to project people like you. For a lot of us, sometimes we're a bit discouraged, and we think where are the people that are supposed to be speaking on behalf of this nation. And I thank God that you've come tonight to share your thoughts. And for those that have just joined us, please watch the replay. You will benefit a lot. Leadership and risk management. Any leader that is not able to assess risk, that does not have a risk strategy in place, will fall flat, because risk is very, very important, particularly in a nation, like Nigeria. I mean, we started off 2020 with a lot of projections, but COVID came, NSAS came, everything has, turned the other way around. But I believe strongly that when we're able to assess the risk, we're able to recalibrate. 2021 will be a better year. So thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us tonight. Until next week, we're going to leadership and politics. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Reach your family right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, bye.